Hi, my name is David Fleck. I'm a former prosecutor from the District Attorney's Office here in Los Angeles, where I was in the white-collar crime division. I used to prosecute people who had been accused of committing financial crimes, complex financial crimes. Now that I'm in private practice, I represent typically business owners who have been victims of some kind of fraud, some kind of financial crime. This is the first of 3 or 4 podcasts where I'll be talking to you about fraud, the basics of fraud, understanding what fraud is and how it's prosecuted in the state court, California state courts, as well as in federal court, and also how it is litigated in civil court. So first of all, let me just talk to you about fraud here in state court, criminal fraud, and how it's prosecuted. Fraud at its very most basic concept is a lie. Basically, somebody lied to get something they're not entitled to. It's that simple. A lie. To get something they're not entitled to. It could be property, it could be money, it could be services. Different kinds of fraud. There are Ponzi schemes, there are investment frauds, there's elder financial abuse. There's all sorts of schemes out there, but they all come down to one basic concept, and that is somebody lied. Under the California Penal Code, the most basic way to prosecute fraud is as theft. Typically, it's grand theft. And Penal Code Section 484A describes what theft is. Under common law, we have a number of concepts that are brought into the statute to some extent, but it's all fully fleshed out in the jury instructions about fraud and about theft. Fraud there are 3 types of fraud. There's theft by embezzlement, theft by false pretenses, and theft by trick or device. Theft by embezzlement is a little bit different than the other types of fraud in that, interestingly, a person doesn't have to intend to keep the money. So, for example, if you have a bookkeeper that steals money from you, even though she intended to pay it back as soon as she had the money, it's still theft. It's still fraud. The other 2 types of fraud, theft by false pretenses and theft by trick or device, require that you prove that they intended to steal and that they intended to keep the money essentially forever. But that's it. They lied with the intent to keep the stolen property forever. There are a lot of other statutes in the California Penal Code and the other codes we have here in California that deal with specific types of fraud. So, for example, embezzlement has its own section. Diversion of construction funds has its own section. Insurance fraud, mortgage fraud, and so on. But when you get right down to it, none of those sections are, strictly speaking, necessary because the basic theft section applies to all of them. So just keep that in mind. If you're investigating fraud, if you think you're a victim of fraud, the trick is to prove a lie, that somebody lied to get something they're not entitled to. The lie could be a verbal lie, it could be a written lie, it could be a forgery, it's some kind of lie. So again, my name is David Fleck. I'm an attorney here in Los Angeles, and I represent businesses who have been victims of financial crimes. If you want to know more about my practice, or you think you have been a victim of fraud, please feel free to call me at 818-268-5929, 818-268-5929. Or check out my blog at www.rudoyfleck.com. I look forward to hearing from you.